Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist. I own 54 units of real estate. So today I want to talk about someone I helped coach. And it's quite interesting because when people start off investing in real estate, and there's some people that start off with a very, very high income W-2. You're talking about, $1 million plus, whether they have a business or they have a high income W-2, like they're a doctor, they work in tech, they're CEO of a large company. So it's kind of funny in this situation is like people who may have a high income W-2 or have a business and they have no real estate experience, they're still thinking a lot smaller than where they should be. Like I was helping coach somebody and that person was fixated on doing, rent by the room, specifically to a medical resident. So, buying like a triplex in near medical centers or multiple medical centers and basically adding additional bedrooms. So it might be a 3-bedroom and you can convert the living room into another bedroom, another bath. So now you have 4 bedrooms. So when you rent by the room, you want more bedrooms because you get more rent. And this person was okay putting like a large down payment of 30-40% down. So you're talking about maybe $300,000 down. And was okay with break-even cash flow or even slightly negative cash flow. Because the true benefit is taking advantage of real estate professional status, specifically buying the deal, doing a cost segregation study, and doing 100% bonus depreciation year 1. So I just say a lot of words there, but basically what it is, and I don't qualify for real estate professional status, but it's when you have one person that works W-2, so let's say they're active income, W-2, or they have a business, and the other person, the partner, doesn't work and they're focused on managing the real estate. So typically these people get a real estate license to become a realtor. You don't have to, but it just makes it a little bit easier. And they're managing their real estate portfolio, so they're self-managing the property, they're materially participating in the property, they're handling the renovations or the contractor, and they're managing a lot of the property management. And this would be at a distance. So basically, in this situation, what was presented to me, the best part of the deal was just to get tax advantages. So there's 2 ways people invest in real estate. Ideally, you want both. So ideally, you want to buy a property that cash flows, and you can do a cost seg on it to bonus depreciate 30% of the asset year 1. That's ideal. That's the most ideal situation. Hard to find, but that's the most ideal. So for example, it's like I'm buying a $1 million apartment complex. It's cash flowing, let's just call it 8% cash on cash return. So if you put 25% down, you put $250. Then basically you have to, if you're all in for $250, a 10% cash on cash return is $25K a year, which is roughly $2,000 a month out the gate. So you have a 10% cash on cash return, but you're also doing a cost segregation study because you qualify as a real estate professional status. That's hard to do. So you can write off about 30% of the purchase price, so $300,000, against your active incomes. So if you can use $300,000 of write-off against your active income, so let's just say I do make $300,000, and let's say my tax rate's 30% for simplicity, I essentially I wiped off my active income, and if my tax rate is 30%, I just got $100,000 back from the IRS when I filed my taxes. So that's when real estate is the most powerful. So I'm getting cost segregation, bonus depreciation, wiping off my active income. That's the biggest benefit out the gate. That's $100,000. You divide that by 12, that's almost $8,000 a month in cash flow. You have an asset that cash flows 10% cash on cash day 1, or at least pays for itself day 1. You have the ability to have market appreciation. You have the ability to have tenants pay down your loan, because remember the monthly payments, some go to interest, some go to principal. And you have the ability to force appreciation. And that's when real estate is the most powerful. The most powerful. So that's the game you want to do. But I get it, in today's environment, it's probably harder to do that. So realistically, the two routes you're going to go down are, if you want to play that game where you're high income W2, high income, so this is more than I make, right? And your game is tax advantage. Like at that point, like I don't think rent by the room is worth the effort, if I'm being honest, because you have to deal with renovation, you're gonna have to deal with permitting, you're gonna have to deal with a contractor. Yes, you can bonus depreciate the renovation costs, I think, all year one, but the labor intensiveness of managing rent by the room, especially yourself, is not worth it, in my opinion. Especially if you're making collectively $1 million plus, it's just not worth your effort. I recommended to this investor that I think you're probably better doing one of two things. Number one is you can already go to the highest level, which is triple net commercial real estate. That is the most passive. Like imagine if you owned a building that was leased by Starbucks or a institutional corporation, like a bank, like CVS, Walgreens, Chase, Starbucks, Amazon. And since it's triple net, they take care of the property tax, they take care of the utilities, they take care of the insurance. All they do is they pay you agreed upon rent over a long term, ideally 20, 25 years, something like that. And there's baked in rent increases. So this one's the most passive and typically will require a 30-40% down. So in this case, you can buy this asset with, let's say $1 million triple net lease, and realistically the only triple net lease you're going to get for that price point is going to be Dollar General, and you're going to want a long lease, 25 years, and you're going to buy this asset, put, let's just call it $300,000 down, and then you can do a cost seg on this study, cost segregation study, bonus depreciates. Let's say you were at $300,000, which is 1/3 the price, and ideally this property should break even or make a little bit of money to cover your loan. So you can get your W2 write-off, and then now you have a triple net lease. And then what you do is, let's just say you're on year 5, you buy it in year 5 out of 25. Let's say you own it for another 5 years, so it's your year 10. What I suggested is you now 1031 exchange that before the lease, expires, into a bigger asset. And when you 1031 exchange, you're resetting your bonus depreciation on the next asset, right? So now let's just say I 1031 exchange from $1 million asset that I bought. Let's just say it goes up to $1.5 million, and I 1031 exchange that into a $2 million asset. So now you can do 30% of $2 million, which is $700,000. So now you can write off $700,000 against your active income, and hopefully that deal breaks even. So to me, I said that's way easier and way more scalable than doing rent by the room, because I just told this investor, I'm like, well, imagine a larger scale version of rent by the room. Like, could you imagine, like I gave me as an example, if I had 54 units and I was doing rent by the room, I'd have 100 to 120 tenants that I'm dealing with. That's not worth it, right? It's not worth my time. That's not worth my effort. So I just had him reconsider, like, looking at triple net, just go on LoopNet, look on Crexy. Bad deals are typically there, but you can kind of see what triple net looks like. And if you're willing to put a larger down payment because you can afford to, because you have a high income, then it might be worth it, right? Your main benefit is a tax write-off, and you want real estate to pay for itself. I also said you can do the new construction BRRRR. So imagine like what I'm doing, like I'm buying new construction all cash at a discount. Let's just say I'm it's normally $300,000, and since I'm paying all cash, I'm getting it for $260,000. So I can do a cost segregation study against the $300,000. Can write off $100,000 against my active income, and then pull an 80% LTV loan on this deal. Pull out all my money because I bought it at a 20% discount, so I'm $0 on the deal. And then use that to go buy another deal, all cash, and rinse and repeat, right? So I buy another $300,000 property, do another cost segregation study, and I can write off another $100,000. So I could rinse and repeat this as many times as possible. And on top of that, I could essentially write off $100,000 and get a lot of assets that are my property manager's managing. And from there, it's just really about how many do you want to buy? So I just had him like relook at that, because I just said, like, when you first get started in real estate, you want to start at the lowest level. So the lowest level is going to be house hacking, single family homes. Then maybe the next version of that might be small multifamily. Then you might go to apartment complexes, mobile home parks. And then a lot of people end up in triple net leases because it's the most passive and you get more tax benefits. I may end up there as well. Like a lot of people who make their money in apartments, mobile home parks, eventually trade their way up to triple net leases. So I just said, you don't have to think that small. You don't have to start off with rent by the room, because you have a high income W-2. You're already in the upper 1%, if not higher. So it kind of like blew his mind. I could see his mind churning, like, wow, like, why am I wasting my time with rent by the room when I just can go straight to triple net leases or do the new construction BRRRR? Like, why deal the headache with renovation, especially if it's your first deal? Like, why go through renovation? Like, even me, I renovate, and I renovated 90 units and even I mess up, right? Even the best flippers renovate units and they always mess up. So like, why deal that headache, especially if you make $1 million plus, right? So you have to think within your ball game. But I get it. A lot of people, and this investor even admitted it, like, oh, I grew up in a scarcity mindset and that's all I know. Like, all I know is single family homes. And I know rent by the room because when, this person's wife was a medical resident, they just rented by the room, right? So it's like something you're familiar with. So that's what's nice about creating content and then networking with other people and being around people who are in the real estate business actively, because you can learn from their experience. I just accelerate this guy who joined my school committee for $30 a month, $1 a day, it's nothing. For $30, I accelerated him from thinking at single family homes, elevated him all the way up to triple net leases that he never even thought about, because he was focused on like just the rent by the room model and single family homes, getting the tax write-off, and then eventually 30 years is paid off. But it's gonna be a lot of work. You're gonna have to do renovation. It's gonna be remote because the person doesn't live in the state that they want to invest in, so it's out-of-state investing. And yeah, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. So I just said, like, why not just go to triple net leases and network with people who are in that realm? That's not me. I don't know that, but find people who are in that realm. So I can see his eyes turning. He's like, wow, I'm glad you said that, because he asked me honestly. He made this beautiful PowerPoint, and I just like, just let me know the pros and the cons, and if you do the deal. And I just said, at your level, I wouldn't do the deal. It just doesn't make sense given the income. Like, if you're just starting off and you're trying to be scrappy, like if, let's just say I live in that state, in the medical triangle of Chicago, and I want to house hack a triplex, then it might make sense, right? Let's just say I put 10% down, for $700,000 property, I put $7,000 down. I live in one unit, rent out the rooms in my unit, and rent out the other units to rent by the room. It might make sense, right? Maybe I'm a medical resident and maybe I'm there, but it only makes sense because I told him, like, with cost segregation, the pros and the cons is, regardless if you put 5% down or 100% down, the cost segregation is the same, right? But so ideally you want to put less down, because if you put 5% down, let's just say a $300,000 home, if I put 5% down, which is $15,000, I'm still getting the $100,000 cost seg write-off, versus if I put all cash $3,000 down, I'm getting the $100,000 cost seg. So it's better leverage when you put less down getting started. So I just said, if you're already at that point where you can put large down payments, like, you might as well just go triple net leases, commercial real estate, because you're required to put a large down payment anyways, and you just want it to be passive, and then you just want to focus on basically doing other things. So his eyes are turning. He's like, yeah, I didn't realize that I was at that level, because I was still thinking of scarcity. I was still thinking small, and I didn't have the abundance mindset yet. So I said, that's why, like, it's the benefit of, like, the humility of asking for help, asking for coaching, joining the school community. And these people are Ivy Leaguers, so these are the best of the best minds, and even still, like, we don't learn this in school. So it's quite interesting, hearing all that and seeing all that. So anyways, hopefully you found value from this video. The key point is you want to surround yourself with people who are steps ahead of you to learn from that. And I think with school communities, it's very cheap to do that, right? Like, even I joined school communities. I have a school community, and I just want to surround myself with people who are in the game. And if I can learn one nugget Like I learned about steadily landlord insurance, and I was able to save, I think $2,000 across 4 policies, and that paid for itself. And I became a partner for Steadily, and I get referral affiliate commission. So it more so paid for itself. So that's the key message, right? You surround yourself with people who you like, who you get along with, and then learn from them. So anyways, let me know what questions you have. Hopefully you found value from this video. Hopefully you learned something from the story. And remember, are you a cash flow investor, or are you investing for tax write-offs? Ideally you want both, but again, in this day and age it's hard to get both. So what are you doing? Are you doing cash flow, or are you doing basically bonus depreciation cost seg? For me, I don't qualify as real estate professional status right now, so I can't do cost segs, but it's always an option later, right? So anyways, hopefully you found value. If you want to send me an email, if you want coaching, if you want to join my school community on a free trial, if you want to join my newsletter, if you want to let Steadily Landlord Insurance quote, click on my link tree down below. I have links to all that. Otherwise, hope to see you next one. Thank you so much.